the today we will learn about ITIN numbers and ITIN holders in the state of Oregon. We are also going to take some time to discuss some of the homeownership programs in OHCS and share the residency requirements that these programs have. We are going to hear from community organizations that have great experience with ITIN lending and working with the ITIN community. And we are going to spend a little time envisioning how our network of organizations can support these community members and can just expand the use of resources that are already existing in the community. We will have time for questions for you to ask the panelists. So feel free to use the Q&A feature of the conversation to share your questions. We will be monitoring that box with Talia and Scott, and we'll make sure that we can send your questions to the panel. And to get us started, I want to pass it on to Mary. Mary is here with us. Mary, are you here?
I am right here.
You all
presente,
right?
Presente.
Great. So Mary Navarrete, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself and
thank you.
Please get us started and let us know what is an ITIN number.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Mary Navarrete from Point West Credit Union. And we can definitely obviously talk about different definitions of how we hear the ITIN number, which can be tax ID number, ITIN, or ITIN, how it's pronounced in our community. And as we know, it's provided by the IRS if you're not able to have a valid Social Security for tax purposes. And of course, if you want to really learn the right way of the how to, what the ITIN is, you can definitely visit the IRS website, which I have included. However, I do want to talk about what exactly nowadays is an ITIN number or ITIN number are used for, right? Opening bank accounts, loans, establishing credit, housing needs, and that is what we're going to talk about today. I did wanted to share a little bit of Juntos Avanzamos and CDFIs, specifically on nonprofits and credit unions, which are very familiar with ITIN lending. That's why I decided to share the logos. For those that don't know what the Juntos Avanzamos is, it's an actual organization that has united 134 credit unions in the United States that are offering ITIN lending and ITIN support. I will go ahead and share the website. If this is the first time that you hear about this amazing organization, I highly recommend you to visit their website. This has been very useful for us, specifically when we have families that are living in different states in this country, and then maybe they're moving, and then they think like, oh, we can't find an institution that is really going to talk to us about ITINs, how we can manage credit and loans. So I highly recommend this website. Like I said, I'll go ahead and share that on the chat so you can check it out. And so this is just a little bit brief of what an ITIN tax ID number is all about. Gracias, Magda.
Great. Thank you, Mary. Yeah, I think that's a really good introduction and collection of resources. So thank you so much for that. If you have any questions, please send them in the chat or put them in the QA box, and we will also be collecting those questions throughout the conversation to make sure that we address them either today or through just a collection of questions later that we can share with everyone. So now I think I'm gonna Talia is gonna share about some of the existing programs in homeownership and the residency requirements and how that eligibility may work. So Talia.
Great, thank you, Magda, and thanks everyone for joining today. As many of you know, we have a lot of different programs within our homeownership division. So today we're not addressing all the programs within Oregon Housing and Community Services, but talking specifically about homeownership, the homeownership division, and we have a few different sections. And so Scott is going to go into more in depth around our lending products, but we wanted to just separate out how our programs work and how we treat residency status. And of course, all of our programs are serving Oregonians. So residency status is, defined a little bit differently. So we're serving Oregonians. But then when it comes to legal residency or immigration status, for our loan programs, legal residency is required, and Scott's going to talk more about those reasons. But for our homeownership development incubator program, which is a program that funds homeownership developers to build homes, that program is agnostic of who those home buyers are, as long as they live and are buying a home in Oregon. Same for homeowner assistance fund. The immigration status, we don't collect information on that. And same with our HOPE program, there's no point where we're collecting social security numbers of the beneficiaries of our HOPE program. So that includes things like down payment assistance and restore repair funds and not funded by HOPE, but foreclosure assistance, counseling. So those programs, we're not asking our partners to provide social security numbers. Same for the Manufactured and Marina Community Resource Center, which is a place where people can call for mediation support. That doesn't collect residency information, and same with our manufactured housing replacement program. So we just wanted to be clear about where this is, we need that documentation, and where that's not something that we look at for program. Of course, all our programs have different statutes and rules and program requirements. Sometimes we do need to seek our Department of Justice counsel to kind of dive deeper on those requirements and how to interpret them. So right now, the way we collect information, this is reflected here. Sorry, one program that is missing here is LIFT. That also is similar to the Homeownership Development Incubator program. We do not collect information on the residency status of the end beneficiaries or the home buyers. So our programs are meant to improve access to homeownership for all people and living and that are buying a home in Oregon, and just have different requirements associated with them. But hopefully this brings a little bit of clarity to that. So with that, I'll pass it over to Scott to talk more about our lending programs.
Good afternoon, everybody. So OHCS lending programs, that's me. I'm the Assistant Director of Homeownership Lending, Scott Shaw, and that encompasses our two mortgage lending programs, the Oregon Bond Residential Oregon Bond Residential Loan, and the Flex Lending Program. The Oregon Bond Residential Loan offers two low rate options. One's the rate advantage, and the other is the cash advantage, which provides 3% assistance in the form of closing costs and prepaids. Flex Lending is a first mortgage loan with down payment assistance funds, or DPA funds, for down payment. You can use it for down payment, closing costs, prepaids, what have you. And those terms are based on income and demographics. But to expand a little bit, you get either 4 or 5% down payment assistance with them. Currently, all of our lending programs, which are federally backed, and that's kind of the key, require proof of legal residency. So in short, it means because the federal government says that you have to have legal residency, we have to follow suit with them. So, and we can get into more detail when everything is done in Q&A. So thank you all. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Scott. And so as you can see from the slide, there are some product gaps that are not filled currently by OHCS, but luckily there are community members and community institutions that have stepped in to be able to serve people without a social security number to achieve homeownership. So people within ITIN number. And so we have a group of 4 panelists today from the community. We're really excited to have them on the call. And we're going to have them introduce themselves, share more about the lending products that they offer and homeownership services that they provide, share about their coverage across Oregon. So what counties do they serve? Where are they located? A little bit about the origins of their ITIN lending programs and what the process for accessing their products look like, what kind of outcomes they're seeing. So they're each going to share a little bit more with you, and then we'll move to, once everybody has had a chance to introduce themselves and their programs, we'll move to questions. So please keep the questions coming in the Q&A box, and we'll look forward to more of that conversation in just a little bit. So we'll kick off first with Community Lending Works, and then we'll go to Point West and Consolidated Credit Union, and end with Proud Ground. So I'll pass it over to Community Lending Works.
Hello to all. Thank you for having me. I hope you can hear me well. Community Lending Works is a CDFI. And one of our products is consumer loans. There are auto loans, personal loans, and credit builder loans. That's more like a savings program. And a business loan, so they can go up to 250,000. All of them, people with ITIN numbers can apply. We had a case a long time ago without ITIN number, without Social Security, but we work with them because we were in that process. So even without it, we can work with them. Our policies are very straightforward, but the same for everyone. But ITIN and Social Security are accepted. We work all Oregon, statewide, and our goal is to provide access to capital and asset building and services to all the people that they are unserved, that they cannot go through the traditional way. And the access to this, it's very easy. Once that we got all the documents, the process can take up to 3 to 4 weeks. I had a personal loan that we took it like 2 days, and they got the money like a day later or something like that. So I mean, it's very easy for us, the ones that we have everything. Business, of course, are more detailed and maybe a little longer, but it will be no more than 4 weeks for them to receive the funds. People are building credit. They are opening businesses. We know that it's very difficult to get access through the normal way for people that they are starting their own business, because they are required to have at least 2 years. But with us, it is possible. So we are seeing more people like having their dream come true, or getting all these goals finished. Thanks for all of this capital, accessible capital. So people are getting like more stability, more confidence in themselves, and getting all this community stronger. That's Community Lending Works. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Yunin. Mary, we'll pass it back to you.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, so we are actually located in Portland, Oregon, but we do serve 14 counties in Oregon. We are almost celebrating 90 years, actually next year. And we started doing non-citizen lending 17 years ago. Specifically, we've been serving the Latino population when we merged in a small credit union called Hacienda CDC, they had a small credit union. So that's where our whole mission started, to really focusing and working with our immigrant community. And so we are very well known as a credit union that thinks outside the box, that's always trying out new pilot programs and really focusing on the community that needs our support. And so we're open Monday to Friday. And like I said, we are one location, but we're fully functional online as well, even though we're located in Portland, Oregon. Would you mind doing one more slide for me, please? Thank you. So as what type of loans are eligible for our ITIN community? All the above. If specifically, we don't base it on their status. If they have a valid social or valid ITIN, it's based on income and credit. So anyone that has an ITIN or a valid social can come in to our door and apply for one of our services. And that also includes any type of account and business and loans. We do require for them to have their ITIN letter. So we require that as well as taxes. If they're self-employed, they will have to provide 2 years of taxes. The rates for our ITIN and our Social Security borrowers are the same. Like I said, we only focus on what are their our income and then what's their credit rate. We do not increase the rate based on their status. For us is all the above have the same rights as a consumer. So we make sure that we consider that every time we bring a new program on board. And whoever wants to know more about like specific requirements, I'm more than happy to share that via email. Next slide, please. This program here is specifically to help our ITIN community, specifically on our mortgages for first mortgages. And I know Consolidated is going to talk a little bit more about their program, but we did partner with Consolidated Community Credit Union and also with Rivermark on how can we help and kind of close the gap when we have a community member coming in saying, I want to buy a house, I have an ITIN, but I don't have a 20% down payment as it's required in many other organizations. So what we wanted to do is be able to help with that initial down payment of the 10% if they're not able to have the 20%. So that's where we come into play with Consolidated and Rivermark. And we actually started this program with Proground as well. And so this is just pretty much a second. As we go into the loan, we become the second. And again, like I said, we do not increase the rate based on their status if they have an ITIN or a valid social. And so this is a small program that we started, and we've been very successful in working with our community partners and offering this to our community. And I can, I can share this via email if you want to reach out. I'm more than happy to share this information. Next slide, please. I do want to talk a little bit about some points of conversation here. A lot of times people come to me and they're like, Mary, how can we start? What is the focus? How can we move forward? And I know it's a conversation that it can be scary, right? It also depends on the flexibility in your organization and how willing are they to really focus in helping our ITIN community. One of the things is I always say, it's like you have to really remember, you know, what type of culture are you trying to really focus in? We have to put those lens and put ourselves in their shoes, right? Are we providing multiple language services? Will we have maybe staff that are, you know, helping them in their language that they prefer? Also, you know, are we providing information in their language that they preferred? When we talk about finances, it's a very scary conversation, even for someone like me that understands English, even if it's my second language. I still have that little tingling and scared. And I'm like, okay, what am I signing? I can just imagine how it is for people that English is, it's not even an option because they're just got to the States, or, they're just learning it. And then accessibility, also being able to understand and be like, okay, your location, do you have digital platforms? How can I submit a loan, or how can I get more information about your programs? And then one of my favorite would be the educational piece is what are we providing as educational when we talk about these conversations? And again, it's not about picking a color, red or blue. It's about picking what's important, which is our community. And we're talking about our ITIN community here, right? So our focus would have to be specifically on how can we help them with providing them with services that are fair for them, and that they give them the opportunity to build assets in this country, and bring them that financial inclusion that they want. And then my other favorite one is trust and collaboration. How can we partner up with community partners, as we're doing right here, right now, right? How can we partner up and share products and services? I know, and we wish that all organizations would provide ITIN loans and ITIN mortgages, but we understand like not everyone is able to for now, but how can we come together as one? Like I always say, it takes a village. And so having these type of conversations, it's really good in understanding what other organizations offer. It's the key. It's the key to coming together for one specific purpose. And of course, the outcomes, increase of financial literacy, which is very important. We don't know what we don't know, right? And our community doesn't know what we offer if we're not out there and talking about it. And so that's a little bit of like kind of the conversations that I believe it's really important to start and getting this ball rolling. And like I mentioned before, there's a lot of a lot of credit unions in the United States that are now offering non-citizen lending. So how can we be informed and look for those credit unions or those organizations that are able to provide what we're not able to right now, or maybe ask for assistance and say, hey, we want to do this. How can we do it? At Point West, we are an open book. You're more than happy to always reach out. I'm very proud to say that our average ITIN credit score is 700, okay? And our delinquency is very minimal, very minimal. I was kind of looking at our reports this morning just so I can have some fresh data. And we literally only have one repo. And then a lot of the late payments are a lot into like the credit cards, but it's like a week or two, people forget to set up, ACH. And then that's a conversation where we talk about, okay, let's talk about ACH. Let's talk about setting these credit cards on auto pay, right? But our delinquency with our ITIN community is very minimal. And our average credit score for an ITIN borrow is 700. And that's from our information from today. I hope this really helped. Again, like I said, and I mentioned before, if you have more questions or you want to direct your questions to me, I'll go ahead and drop my email. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary. And that was going to be one of our questions for you. Are you willing to share your email? Because people are asking. So if you don't mind popping it in the chat. And then just while we have you up here, a few other quick questions for you, maybe quick. What is there a down payment requirement for ITIN home loans? What's your service territory? Maybe I could just go back to that slide. And then are they 30-year fixed loans?
Those are really great questions. And I'm so happy that we have Andy from Consolidated Credit Union. Like I said, we actually, we can do what we do with our current credit union friends. And so we can portfolio some of those first mortgages. but they're the lead on our program. They're the ones that actually take in those applications and evaluate them for us. And even though, you know, when we do and Andy can definitely speak more to this, when we do a 30, we do calculate it for 30 years, just so we know it's affordable when we do the monthly payments. But they do have a 15-year loan where they do have to refinance it. And Andy can definitely talk more about that. And when we portfolio these type of loans, and you know, and because again, for those that don't know, when an institution offers ITIN mortgage loans, you keep that loan. You know, a lot of times some of us have mortgages and we get a letter saying, hey, your mortgage was sold here, and then a couple years later you get another letter that it was just sold somewhere else, right? Well, because these are unique portfolios, unique programs, we keep them. Okay, it's not like we can go out in the market and sell them. So we can do what we do. If it wasn't other credit unions and organizations that step it up and say, hey, we'll get some of those loans and put them on our shoulders too, right? So the more institutions that we have that are willing to work with institutions like us, the more we can do. But again, I'll let Andy talk more about like the other questions, because I think that's more of his questions for sure.
Great. Sounds like a good transition to Andy. So, and you can see the Point West service territory here on this slide, but we'll move on to Consolidated Credit Union, and then we'll come back and try to answer some of these questions that are coming in through the chat afterwards, after Andy and Katie both get a chance to talk.
Hi everyone. Yeah, my name is Andy Ang, and I'm a mortgage loan officer with Consolidated Community Credit Union. I also have my colleague Dawn here with us. So she actually is a very good resource when it comes to ITIN, because she's actually one of the original, I would say the original creator with this whole program, not only with our own credit union, but also with Point West. So I mean, yeah, just a quick introduction. I mean, my credit union, our credit union's been here since 1954. Back when it was called the Consolidated Federal Credit Union, but over the years we had some changes and of course a little bit of a mergers and everything. So now we are officially Consolidated Community Credit Union. Based in Portland, our main branch. We also have two separate branches throughout the state, and one actually in the Hood River. So I personally been helping Point West Credit Union. So our partnership is a little bit unique. So Point West is one of my partner credit unions, which means that I basically handle a lot of their mortgage loan product, like a lot of their mortgage loan leads. So when they have a member that's looking for a mortgage, when it comes to refinances, purchases, they will fill out an application through Point West, and then Point West will send that lead to us, and we'll go ahead and help them, whether we will actually help them put that loan on their book as a portfolio loan, like the ITINs, or we'll help them, you know, if they don't qualify as a portfolio, then we'll see if we're able to get them through the secondary market through a broker loan. So because my credit union, our mortgage department acts mostly 95% of the time we act like a broker. So that's why we have access to pretty much all the loan products that's out there. So that's one of the unique part about us. But well, kind of off the subject a little bit. So right back into the ITIN part. So we've been, I personally started helping specifically focusing on the ITIN loans starting this year. And then when we find out that there's actually quite a bit of a demand when it comes to members that are needing those loans to purchase their houses and stuff like that. So I kind of like want to circle back what Mary was saying, like, because you guys asking a lot of questions whether it's, hey, what's the down payment that you're looking for, and what kind of loan like product that we are offering. So specifically with Point West, so Point West can do as little as 10% down, meaning that the member will have to come up with their own 10% down, right? Whether it's through a grant money, whether it's money that they saved up, or gift money they receive from family, right? And then if they have the 10%, then Point West will actually can come in to do a second on the same property, and then to basically make up the entire 20%. So basically, yes, for borrowers that need to go through the ITIN program, we'll need 20% down. But if they are a member of Point West, and then actually Point West going to be portfolioing, meaning they will be holding that loan, the member actually just need that 10% down, because Point West will come up with the remaining 10 as the financing part, as the second lien on the house that they're looking to buy. And that's basically what we offer when it comes to partnership with Point West. So, but we also, as a credit union ourselves, we also portfolio some our own ITIN loans as well. So meaning that those ITIN borrowers come directly to us. So what we do is we do require 20% down. Our interest rate is going to be very similar of what they pay through the secondary market, maybe 1/8 to half a percent, maybe 1/8 to half of a percent higher than what the secondary market would offer, with that they would get through the secondary market, but it's still going to be a lot lower compared to some other lenders that are offering a fixed rate to ITIN borrowers, no matter what kind of credit score they have, or no matter how strong they are when it comes to, when it comes to, what kind of borrowers they are. So we offer ARM products to those mortgages, like a 5-year ARM, 7-year ARM. If it's a fixed mortgage, then it's going to be a 30-year fixed amortization with a 15-year balloon, meaning that at year 15, actually at year 16, either the mortgage has to go through, modification, or it needs to be paid back in full. But most of the times, those mortgages will definitely be, refinanced out definitely prior to that 16-year mark. So, and honestly, we haven't seen one that we've been holding for that long. So that's why we designed that, loan product for that 30-year amortization with the 15-year balloon payment. When it comes to demographic geography, like we also serve in Monongalia County, Washington County, Clackamas, Columbia, Hood River, Yamhill, Clark, and also Skamania. So those are also the counties that, with that we actually focusing on getting our members from as well. But just do keep that in mind, even though those are the counties that we serve when it comes to doing a portfolio loan. But if we're able to come across some other members that are not within those county, we can also look at options of, broker them out to just, getting broker that loan out to the secondary market. Might be a little bit challenging if it's, an ITIN loan, but overall we do have the capacity to do so. And then, yeah, so kind of like some of the goals that we're trying to, doing, like the reason we are doing this and actively helping those ITIN borrowers, and kind of like helping like Point West, other partner credit unions to do those kind of programs, is just that we do see that trend that some of those like members, some of those borrowers are, they work hard, they pay their taxes and everything, but they don't have a different alternative when it comes to financing buying their home. So basically, it's going to be a little bit harder for them to achieve that American dream that we always talk about. So that's why we see that, hey, they have a need of doing so. Can we partner with some of our local credit unions to basically help them expand that route a little bit, instead of them paying like a super high interest rate that's out there? Can we actually make homeownership a little bit more affordable to them, right? So that's basically what we are trying to do, and what we've been focusing on, and partnering with some other credit union members and partners here. And then when it comes to the whole process, I mean, to be honest, I mean, because I've been doing quite a few of them now, and then we actually have 2 that are still in the process, that are getting, looking to be done and closed by the end of this month, and both of them are actually with Point West. So the whole process, to be honest, it just looks like it's just like dealing with a normal mortgage loan. Of course, we're gonna ask a little bit more upfront documents from the borrowers when it comes to, for example, we'll need to verify income. We'll need to verify that their taxes, to make sure, they actually report their income to the IRS and everything. So we're gonna look at a little bit more when it comes to the assets. Are we do we have all those bank statements, like all those, do we have all the funds ready in the bank statement, like in their bank already and stuff like that. But overall, the whole process is going to be very, I'll say 80% to 90% just exactly the same like a traditional bar will need to go through. But of course because it is an I-10 loan, so during the underwriting process, they might have to go through a couple extra steps compared to what the other borrowers need to go through. For example, they would need to do a home ownership counseling class to get a certificate, and then they will need to provide their tax transcript, and then of course we need to see letters from the IRS or from the to basically showing that to prove that they are the owner of those I-10 numbers that they have. And then yeah, overall, I mean, we've been doing this now, I say for the past several years, and then so far we haven't had any kind of delinquency when it comes to those I-10 loans on our books. So I'll say that those are, from a mortgage loan officer perspective, those are very good loans we are kind of like happy and kind of like glad that we're able to help them out and put those loans on our books to basically extend those borrowers a little bit more help throughout the community. Yeah, and Don, do you think do you think there's anything you wanna any questions or
Thank you, Andy and Don. Yeah,
yeah,
we'll keep moving. And there's a lot of questions in the chat right now, but
cool.
we're excited to have Katie talk because Proud Ground provides a really great example of how a community partner, community land trust, and organization has partnered with a financial institution to ensure that there are products that work for the clients that they're serving. So we'll pass it over to Katie now.
Thanks, Talia. And I'll be brief because I know we want to get to those questions. And I'm here, Proud Ground for years had been seeking a lending product to offer loans to ITIN holders. And this need was really coming directly from the community we were serving. And we found that there was this conflict. Some lenders were offering loan products to ITIN holders, but they weren't able to do it with a community land trust. But we didn't give up, and that's because we, as a culturally responsive organization, really wanted to continue to try to find that, and we are just really thankful for the partners that we found through Consolidated Community Credit Union and Point West, and now we're able to offer it. But Proud Ground is a nonprofit that is both a HUD certified housing counseling agency and a community land trust program, and so we offer services to the community through that housing counseling program and doing homebuyer education and counseling. We have 2 HUD certified counselors that are both bilingual English, Spanish, and then we'll pay for translation for all other languages. And then through the community land trust model, we are able to break down one of the biggest barriers to ITIN holders' access to home ownership by providing essentially a large down payment. And so through, for example, in Washington County right now, we have a down payment offering of up to $175,000. So if the I-10 holder's loan product requires a certain percentage of down payment, our funds can actually be counted towards that. So it really does break down one of the biggest barriers. And I think maybe, what's my next slide, Talia? I have like multiple, I don't know why I did that. Oh, access. So yeah, getting started with our program, really they qualify, they apply for the program, they come to an information session where we go into great depth on the community land trust model and the great benefit of getting a house at a reduced sales price, and also the requirement that upon resale, those homes have to be resold to another income qualified home buyer at an affordable price. They meet with a housing counselor to review their eligibility for the program and readiness to buy. We do also require our home buyers take the required home buyer education class, and we offer that in-house, but we also work with several partners to offer that. And then when they're ready to go, they apply for a home and work with a partner lender. So the program has been, our program has been around for almost 25 years and been very successful. We've helped over 615 families purchase homes. And to date, we've had one ITIN holder purchase, which is awesome. And that was just in this last year. So we are very excited about that. We hope to be able to offer this opportunity to more families with these great partnerships that we have. And I don't know if I had another slide or not. Oh yeah, so this is just the excitement here. And then we do actually currently have some housing opportunities available. So you can check out that on our website. But I'm gonna leave it at that because I think our role here is the nonprofit partner that really does help to fill some of the barriers and gaps that sometimes a family, even if they could qualify for the loan, they might only qualify for, in the Portland metro area, a $250,000 loan, which is not going to buy much. And so our program can help maybe make that home a better home for them and get them into something that's a better fit for their family.
Great, thank you, Katie. And I think I'll just stop sharing my screen and we can get to some of the questions that have been posed in the chat. And maybe this first one would be a good one to direct towards you. If you have any experience in working with the lenders and how that interacts with the community land trust model. I think some of the questions are specific to LIFT home buyers, which the distinction there would be the loan, the property would need to be able to maintain the affordability restrictions in the case of a foreclosure. So I don't know if you can, or any of you on the panel can speak to your loan's ability to maintain those affordability restrictions, but I think that would highlight whether it works with LIFT or works within the community land trust model.
I guess I can speak briefly, but I don't know if we'd be able. There's too many. I guess there's a lot of. I would separate maybe that conversation from just community land trust and LIFT funded homes, because when we throw LIFT in there, it gets a lot more complex. But community land trust and the affordability, restrictions that are in place are definitely mortgageable, and we get access to different loans. I think one of the barriers we had early on, there were two barriers in us working with the ITIN holders and the loan products. The first was that some banks were offering that product, but they said, oh, we offer that, but we don't want to layer it with the complexities of the community land trust program. So that was the first kind of barrier. And we still have that barrier for other lenders that are offering ITIN holder loans right now. And then with Consolidated Community Credit Union, they were the ones that were really kind of more proactive and being able to connect those two pieces. And we didn't jump on it right away. And I have to say, one of the things we talked about internally was the idea of a 15-year loan that was amortized to 30 years and the risk of what happens in year 15. And that was one of the things that we internally, didn't want to put that additional risk on our homeowners. And as we talked about it internally, we were like, why we shouldn't be making that decision for our community, right? Like, if this is a possibility, they need to, with all the education and proper education, that's something that home buyers should be able to choose what they want to move forward with. So yeah, we're excited that we're at this place now where we can offer it. And there are challenges with different funding sources, grant programs, and how that works with lending, I'll just say. So it's not like just to check the box, we can now do it on everything, but our goal is to get to that point.
Mary, Andy, Don, anything to add to the compatibility with affordability, long-term affordability in your loans?
I think Katie kind of covers it all for most part. Um, it's just that it's when it comes to I-10, it's hard to say that there are how should I say it? It's just because it's not a Fannie Mae guided loan product, so it's hard to kind of like put like a textbook guideline for every single one of them. Um, Especially for a lot of those I-10 borrowers, like every single one of them is different, like income, credit, their history of getting home ownerships is like they all different, right? So it's really just hard to say that, oh yeah, this is for example A, or can we copy it over to example B? It's just really hard to say that. But overall, I think it's, at least to my personal experience, and I still think it's going to be a work in process throughout this stage. That's why, we're definitely welcome to hear different kind of feedback, to see how we can make the program better, to make it even more accessible to I-10 borrowers and stuff like that. And that's, I think, what my credit union has also been focusing on, as well, helping them to get in the door, getting some, credit history build up and stuff like those stuff.
With the affordability aspect of it, we're not concerned about that so much because it has a long-term lease. So that part does not make us nervous at all. We are all about affordable lending. And so we are happy to do whatever we can to make it more accessible. I see a question in there about the rationale behind the 15-year balloon. That is just something our CEO put in way back when, just simply so that we have the opportunity to see as we get closer, are the borrowers paying okay? We have never forced anybody out of their home. We work with our borrowers. So very few people are going to have that mortgage. Usually it's within 5 to 7 years, they're either purchasing or they're refinancing because circumstances in their lives have changed. They're tapping into the equity of their home. They've grown out of their space. So it really, that's a long time. And I have not seen anybody get to that point. Any
And
other questions?
I can speak over, hopefully you can hear me now. Sorry, I think my computer's dying here, but I can speak on behalf of like the 10% that Point West does. Like we take it in as if it was a home equity line of credit, for example, a second. So we provide, the flexibility that our member can, pay ahead if they want to. And so it doesn't need to hit obviously the 30 years if you're only doing that 10% down. And we do max of 90,000. And so technically we don't fit into that balloons part of it. And like Don and Andy were stating, overall, we really want this payment to be affordable for our community. And as we know, and I know my community, we always are very hardworking people that we try to pay our items and our debt ASAP. we don't like debt. And so we try our best to find ways of paying debt off, finding solutions on what's next. A lot of the times when we talk to our community, they're very excited knowing like, hey, my status might be changing in a few years, or they're going through a process of status change. A lot of times they come to us and they're like, guess what? Now I had my valid social, I have a status, I need to refinance my loans. And so we go through that process with them. And like I mentioned before, these are loans that we do have to keep in-house. We do wish that there was more organizations out there that could come and share the love with us so we can maybe have a 30 year fix, right? But at this point it's not possible because there's only few of us that have really stepped up to this program. But yeah, that doesn't mean it won't change, right? Hopefully after this we can advocate and have better programs out there, and please reach out and we would definitely partner and be there with you all. I do want to have a conversation regarding, there was a question regarding bankruptcy. And, I hear these conversations like, Mary, my institution or my organization don't want to do it because they're high risk. bankruptcy and bankruptcy. And so I hear all that and I totally understand it. I myself had to go through the whole dilemma with when we went to the recession and all that good stuff. A lot of times what I say, the house stays here. Okay, that's what we need to remember. They do not take their house back home. The house stays here, and they're like, well, what about foreclosure? Well, you have to understand, like, it doesn't change anything just because they have an ITIN or a valid social. The house and the lien and everything is still under their name. Okay, so there's no high risk just because of the status. It's the same as if we're talking to a person that unfortunately has to be incarcerated and they have to go to jail or whatnot. Something happens. Things happen in life, but how are we educating our community to have a plan, right? My plan is to be here today. Well, do you have a plan B in case you pass away, you have to go, whatever it is? How are we educating our families and our community to take that next step and say, okay, well, yeah, I need a plan B. How can I protect my asset for my family and myself and my future in this country? So it's just about financial education. And like I said, I know it can be scary and there's a lot of unknowns, but it's really about understanding the community, listening, and really focusing on how we can obviously protect our members and our organization, but also do the right thing. So I know there's a lot of great questions. We might run out of time, but I shared my contact information. Feel free to reach out. We can definitely have a conversation about this. Thank you.
I see a question about the reasoning and the rationale behind the 15-year balloon. The reason for that is because of interest rate risk. If we have a 30-year fixed mortgage out there, it just makes it very difficult. We do very, very, very few 30-year fixed. If somebody wants the guarantee of having a 30-year mortgage in place, we do have the option of an adjustable rate mortgage. And the way those work is it's going to be fixed for 5 or 7 years, and then it's going to adjust annually. As people are nearing the adjustment period, they will reach out to us if the rates are favorable, and we'll say, hey, can we lock this in for another 5-7 years, whatever. And we're happy to do that. But there's also a fail safe in there. So if it happens to be an atmosphere like what's going on right now, you're only going to adjust incrementally. And then you're not going to shoot up 5% all at once. So that if the market happens to be tough, like it is right now, then you're not going to have as much of a shock. And then when it gets better, then you can look at refinancing or doing a modification. That's all we do is modification. I hope that helps answer that question a little bit better.
I want to thank everybody for the conversation and all the good questions. We had a lot of questions and we are nearing the end of our time. I think most of the questions that we received in the Q&A and the chat panelists have addressed. There's one that I really wanted to quickly ask, and is, do your ITIN lending products work towards buying a manufactured home? And if you all can give me a quick yes or no, that would be really good. Mary and the union, would the loans work for a manufactured home?
No.
Okay. All right. Kelly, I'm gonna ask you again if you can share your screen.
Sorry, I was muted.
Oh, that's
as a rule, we stay away from manufactured homes, but we do. We have done some in the past for very well qualified borrowers.
oh, great. Thank you. So I am panelists again, if you can please share your information in the chat so that everyone has it. If you want to share your information. And for everyone else that is here, if you know about similar resources for the ITIN community, please feel free to share. We have collected a small slide list here, mostly with the products from the organizations that have accompanied us today. and also just some general information about ITIN lending. So we will be sharing these slides on our website. But again, please feel free to continue sharing your resources. Yeah, this is a non-comprehensive list. It's just, again, kind of a reflection of what we have discussed today. Thank you again, and everybody, for being here today. We are also interested in hearing from you. What do you want to hear next on this conversation? I think this is just a really good learning opportunity, an opportunity to also network. But if there is something that we can facilitate in the future to continue this conversation, please feel free to share with Scott, Talia, myself, and we will be glad to continue this conversation. We know that there is a need in the community. We know that all of us have a role, and just continuing to understand what's a role in making homeownership more accessible is what we are here to do. So thank you again, and we'll hope to see you again soon. Have a good afternoon.